before the election.
I love it.
All right, we're live. Woo! Hi, Patty.
Hi.
Thank
How
you.
are you? I was just like looking on my phone to pull up us being on live, but I should probably pay attention here.
No, that's okay. If you're like me, you know, like, oh my God, squirrel. Like I have this little groundhog that runs around outside, and now there's a big debate on Facebook over whether it's a beaver or a groundhog. I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, so thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I wanted to do this because, and I'll tell the story in a moment, but I call you my spiritual consigliere, which is about the highest compliment I can give. So I turn to Patty whenever I have problems or issues, and at the beginning of I think, Patty, what is this in the Chinese calendar? I think it's the year of the shit show. Is that what it's called?
Exactly. That is exactly the year.
So anyway, my pandemic or my crappy year started really early in January. My mom passed away and business was kind of tanking. So I called my spiritual consigliere and I said, what should I do? What promotion should I do? And she said, no, do nothing. Shut it down. And I said, are you out of your mind? Do you remember that, Patty?
Mm-hmm.
So why would you give me that crazy advice to just stop?
Because when things aren't rolling in, it's because we're out of receiving mode, right? Like it's because we've been doing. That sends the energy out, which is great. But the reason we want to send the energy out is to create the cycle, right? But at some point, you have to stop doing this to allow this to flow in. Right. And I've watched you since I was a baby entrepreneur, right? Like I was old, but like I was brand new to entrepreneurship. And from the minute I met you, you put out such good quality. So it was never a question of, are there enough seeds planted? Mm-hmm. It was a question of there's needs to be like a release of the outward. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I listened to my spiritual consigliere, which seemed completely counterintuitive. Like, okay, when stuff isn't working, you work harder, right? And I did this digital detox. So I wanted to talk about the idea of a digital detox. So what I did, let me share my screen and I'll show off the end of the screen. I found this place called, what the hell is it called? Getaway. And they have these little tiny houses in the woods and they have no Wi-Fi, no internet, no TV, no nothing. So I did this, Patty said like a month, and I was like, all right, let me just throw myself off a cliff. But I did like 4 days, which is pretty good for me. And it was life-changing. I mean, just to completely go off the grid, it seemed like the worst thing to do at the time. And it was, did we lose you? No, we're back.
Sorry, was that me?
Hang on a sec. We'll just pull us back. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I thought we had a little glitch, but I think we're okay. So yeah, so I did that getaway thing, and then I did receiving school, which was like, that was like the 1-2 punch. And since then, pandemic or no pandemic, I have had the biggest year or the best year financially of my business, which you would think like it would have been the worst because it's the first few months were just terrible. But in April, when everything else was going downhill for folks, things were picking up. So I don't know what it is about, receiving school and your really smart advice and your really intuitive, hits on me that just said, you just put me on the right path. So.
And you know what I think it is, Lou, and you're such a good example of, I see this with people, is like the better human you are, like the more your heart calls you into your business, the more you tend to give, right? Because when you're in the moment, I've watched you over the years, like I know you just want people to have growth. You want people to be visible. You want people to have their best, like you see the brilliance in people and you just help them get it out there. And so like when you're in your work, you're just worried about that, right? You're not worried about yourself.
Yeah.
Which makes you
great. Me cry, Patty. Do not make me cry.
Which makes you great at what you do. But the problem with people who are built like that, like you, is then they lose track of what this needs, what this part of them needs. And this is half the equation, right? And so I don't know that what I teach is like so brilliant, other than it reconnects people to the actual half of the equation they've been missing. And what often happens to those of us, and especially in the entrepreneurial space, is we keep digesting this information of get my course and that'll give you the thing. And underneath all of that is if you do something different, that's what's going to get you the result.
Mm-hmm.
And what it really is this is what's going to get you the result. You've done plenty of this, of giving, of creating, you know, it's the receiving, it's the taking in, and it's the taking in energy that is the money flow. It's the taking in energy that helps you find the best VA. It's the taking in energy that shows you how to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And so most good people are missing this half, right? And so it's a really simple half, but it takes a huge amount of courage because it goes against what you think you know.
Right. Because one of the things I realized doing that in receiving school is I even said this, I think, out loud at one point. I'm like, I don't want to do this alone anymore. It's just, you know, maybe it was the pandemic or what. I'm an introvert, so I love being alone, but I didn't want to do all the business part alone. And, you know, right after that, like almost like magic, I got a call from a friend of mine on the West Coast who I know from Book Yourself Solid days. And she's like, let's do some stuff. And that thing just took off. My friend Don Dory is, you know, I'm doing pretty much most of what I do now is with her. And it's a really good match because she's a type A extrovert. And I'll just stay behind the scenes and do the work forever and do all the creative stuff. And it's just been a really good partnership. But I thought that was the last thing I wanted. But when I really asked for it and got out of my own way, I'm like, oh my God, it's right there in front of me.
And that's what I think is so fascinating too, when people go through this process, is they think they know what they want, right? I mean, it's really obvious. I want more clients. I want more money. I want more time off, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's these other needs that are really calling out from your soul that
right.
you sort of like, once they're met, you're like, oh yeah, I really did want that, but you're never really acknowledging them. You know, that's what I find so fascinating about the process is, yes, the money comes in. Yes, the whatever, you know, whatever the material is that you want, that comes in. But by the time that comes in, the thing you got before that is so much more valuable and substantial that you're enjoying the stuff that comes in from the material, but it's that quality of life shift that really makes it mean something.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to put up my little receiving school link here, and I wanted to know if you'd tell us a little bit about that. And if you want, you did a digital detox as well, right?
I did, yes. Oh, Catherine, hi, love.
Dawn, I just gave you a shout out.
You know, that's so funny when you said Dawn, because I was just about to say about Dawn. I met Dawn, what was it? We met like 4 years ago. I think we met at Emerging Women, but I don't remember exactly. But I remember Dawn was on the verge of being like, I am done with this crazy world. I remember you were like, I cannot be like the rest of these people anymore. And I don't know, you probably took your own detox. We have to check out.
From New York, you know, to Southern California, which is a pretty radical shift.
Yeah, definitely. No joke. So anyway, you know what happened, and even though like I teach this stuff, I get caught up, you know, every time our life changes, we have to relearn things that, you know, when we go through a transformation, good or bad, when we get upheaval, our coping mechanisms are triggered. So we tend to return to behaviors that used to work that we unlearn. And my coping mechanisms are controlling things, perfectionism, you know, all those good qualities of a type A's, right? And so, you know, all at once, I'm launching the receiving school, literally launched it the day that got the notice that my kids were coming home from school. And then like 2 days later, we were in isolation. So we had that going on, teaching kids how to, you know, learn from home, get that set up, doing receiving school, you know, wondering, you know, what was it going to mean for my husband who works for another company, which it turns out nothing, you know, his industry actually took off because it's pools. And when we found out that, you know, when a virus starts spreading, a deadly virus starts spreading, people start building pools so they don't have to swim in other people's water.
Awesome.
But there was just like all this stuff. So I went into, let me do it. And I'm supporting the people in receiving school, and I launched them. Well, I got to a point where I was like, oh, I lost track of myself. And so I knew I had to take some time away and just meet myself, meet the version of me I had become in 2020. And I encourage all of you to embrace this concept and understand who you were in January is not who you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on purpose. There is a spiritual evolution happening alongside this shit show that is purpose filled. Mm-hmm. And it really is to release layers of nonsense that we've been carrying around, things that we thought were important. And you need to take some time to meet up with that new version of yourself. So it took a lot of courage for me to do this. I've done retreats, but in this current environment, I went and I booked our Cape house that we normally rent as a family. And I told my kids and my husband that, look, I got to go there by myself. I need the ocean. And I left and I went away for a week and I turned everything off. And even though we were heading into the launch of the receiving school, mm-hmm. I turned everything off and I just stayed by the water for a week and met myself, for lack of a better term.
That's good. So you did what you told me to do.
I did. And it was painful. It's painful to do that. It's not, it sounds great, but there's a reason why you resist, not you, Lou, but if you're listening and you're like, ugh, mm-hmm. that I could never. Oh yeah, I could never find that time. You could absolutely find that time. You're not going to find that time because it's actually secretly very scary to be alone with yourself.
I know. Like the first day I did my little detox thing out in the woods, which I'm fortunate that this place is only like an hour away and I can go to the tiny house and just sort of do the whole thing. And I've done it since then as well. But like it was like a drug addict, like, oh, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Where's my where's my internet? But no news, no CNN, no. And, it's like, I realized like, okay, mom and dad are gone. I'm an orphan. I got to do this myself, but I can do this. And I did receiving school right afterwards, which was awesome. And it's exactly what I needed. So thank you for, thank you for basically forcing me to do that. So.
I'm actually so proud of you, Lou, because for someone like you who works and gives, and this is so habitual for you, this really took a lot for you to actually really hear what I was saying and use that advice. And I admire you for it.
Thanks. Even though I told you that you were out of your effing mind at the time.
Yeah, that's okay.
We've known each other for a while. I can talk that way, right? So tell us, and I'll tell, my story about receiving school. It's like, I'm like, the poster child for freebies and giving it away and stuff like that. And now that I'm working with Dawn, that's not the case. But it made a huge difference for me. I've gone through it twice with you, but for folks who may not be as familiar with it, when does it start? How do they get in? All that good stuff.
Yeah. So it starts on Monday, the 26th. So we're right up close. And it's an 8-week program. And I just want to start by saying, to me, one of the biggest selling points, there's a lot of great stuff that happens. I guide you through all these processes and I'll talk about them in a second. Yeah.
Catherine told me to. I know Catherine. You're right.
I use my mom voice, Catherine.
She was on this.
So
I'm just a little bit more afraid of Patty than I am of Catherine. That's what it came down to.
So for 8 weeks, we come together and the community is just amazing. And I think in a year like we're having, to be amongst people who aren't just like doing some weird spiritual stuff. Like we're a very grounded community. Everyone's trying to, achieve goals, but do it in a way that comes from love and self-care and understanding. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the content of the program, what it takes you through is the first 2 modules are really about getting into alignment with the material world, really clearing out the things that are blocking material things like, selling your house, getting money, whatever it is, right? We make they're all on its own, a hashtag bags of money emerged in the first week of receiving school. Cause all of a sudden people just started to get these like hits of money, right? Cause there's actually just easy blocks to clear, right? The second two modules will help you actually receive yourself. And this is truly the transformative work in receiving school, is really starting to know who you are. And then the final two modules are really about communicating with the other side, and whether you want to actually talk to a loved one on the other side, or just feel that there are signs and guidance and like ways that you know you're on the right path. That's what those last two modules are. And there's 2 catch-up weeks in between it. And it's an amazing, beautiful process. It's so powerful. It's the entire program, although each of the techniques were techniques that I used in my coaching career, and they're things that I've learned how to do, the actual way that the program flows was channeled by my spirit guides. I know that sounds super weird. Let me tell you, I'm a former type A corporate banker, so I'm a super normal person. I do have my master's in psychology, so I bring in the brain science and the basics. But I do believe this is a divine process. Like, this is divinely guided to help us learn how to return to who we truly are. And once we get there, that's when we realize the universe like totally has our back. Yeah. Like you ask for something, even if it's just a feeling of something, you don't have to put words to it. You don't have to make a vision board. Just like Lou had the feeling of not wanting to be in this alone, the universe starts flowing those to you, right? Mm-hmm. It's not, oh, Dave, you're loving this. I'm so glad.
Thanks,
the universe starts, and you don't have to orchestrate some law of attraction process. You just have to be like totally in communion with yourself, right? And understanding that God truly loves you, or the divine, or whatever word you're going to use. Yeah, Jen, it's already inside.
Awesome.
It's inside.
Yeah, friends. That's the thing too. I mean, the community is great because you really, it's like, oh my God, so-and-so's here. And I haven't seen her for ages. And now she's in this group, and the connections you make are pretty awesome. And in the spirit of receiving, I'll put the link below here again, which is an affiliate link, because Patty has told me how to receive. You don't have to just, and that's the thing too with Dawn. And when I said, and maybe I even said it in receiving school, I don't want to do this alone anymore. It was like the next day, like totally out of the blue, Dawn, who I've known for 10 years, but probably hadn't talked for 2 years or something. Boom, let's do this. Hey, can you do one of these books for me? I'm like, yes. Before the call was over, she had Venmo'd me. I'm like, whoa. So that's the awesome part about, working with her, is she has so much energy and has so many ideas that I'm just like basically on a roller coaster trying to hang on for the ride, but I'm loving it. So I don't think I ever would have, reconnected with her if it wasn't for receiving school, even though she wasn't in at that time. And I don't think I ever would have been able to get out of my own way if I hadn't done that digital detox that you often recommended, which was really kind of, I mean, now I can't wait to go back, but at the time it was like, this is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the most important. Like, if you're listening and you're not sure you're going to be part of receiving school, which is perfectly fine, right? Not everyone's ready for it. And just understand, start with what's the thing you can cut off for a day, a week, even if it's just putting your cell phone in the freezer. Well, that might damage it, but putting your cell phone somewhere where you don't touch it just for a day. Mm-hmm. Like, do something and notice how scary it feels. There's a reason it feels that scary, and you need to face that fear. That's, I think one of the things that makes the receiving school powerful is that we use these really subtle exercises that don't have anything to do with like really what people are blocking. Like, I don't make you take out a dollar bill and talk to it. Like, you're not like, vision boarding like the wall in your bedroom, like there's nothing like that, right? We do these very pragmatic exercises, and you're like, oh yeah, I can totally do this. Mm-hmm. And then you try and do it, and you're like, why am I not doing this? It would take me literally 5 minutes. Why is this so hard? And that's when you start to see that, because, and I'll just give you an example. So we do a complaining detox, right? I mean, you don't have to add extra time. You just for 1 week, just don't complain, right? And then you're like, oh my God, complaining is all I have left. oh my God, there was the the sitcom with the guy who was here from like another planet. And
the Mork from Ork thing.
no, it was oh god, oh my god, I'm the worst when I come up with these.
Elf?
It's like a meme that always goes, like a GIF that goes around when it's time for election, and he's like, and she was like, if you don't vote, you don't get to complain, and he's like, complaining all I have left.
Remember you told me when I was doing the complaining detox, of course I was posting all my political crap, and I said, all right, for 1 week, every time I'm tempted to post something about Trump, I'll post a picture of a pug.
And right? That's how Pugtober came, right?
I'm doing it again this week. I'm like, every now and then there may be a little thing that slips in there, but for the most part, I'm trying to show some restraint from complaining and posting pugs instead. Pugs, not politics.
Yes, I love it, and you don't like, it's simple, right? But it's so tempting to put all the nonsense out there, right? And when you stop doing it, all of a sudden money starts flowing in. And you're like, oh, so it wasn't having a conversation with $100 bill that was going to bring me money. It was stop complaining about this politician is actually what's causing my blocks, right? Anyway, all right. So, you know what? I did want to just offer too, if you want to put it up, I'll put it into our little chat, my phone number, because I'm happy if you're listening to, here, can I put that?
That's, I think that's another thing that I would think is totally crazy. I'm like, I don't want anybody to call me. Like, I'm not going to answer the phone.
I will.
Yeah, you call me. But Patty's giving you her phone number if you want to talk about receiving school. That's nuts.
Oh, I have to put it in the comments though. Wait, hold on a second. I can't get to comments. Can you put it up on the as a banner?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you call me and tell me Lou sent you, so I can tag him as the
what's the Connecticut
sender. It's a Connecticut number. Yeah. So if you're not in the States and you just you can text me there, and then I'll set up a Zoom so you're not paying, crazy international rates. It's do you see it? It's in the private chat.
Okay. Yep. Hold on a second, and then I'll let you go. But I strongly recommend not only a digital detox, but the idea of doing Patty's receiving school, which was life changing. I mean, I get sick of the term game changer, but this really, really fit the bill when it came to that. It was just amazing.
Okay. I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years now. This is the thing that I will say, as long as you show up 100% open, it will work for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, because you have to, I mean, I'm like the least woo person there is. And I thought it was going to be woo, but it was really very practical. So
yeah, it's amazing how many non-woo people tolerate me.
It's not that woo.
No, it's not. I mean, it creates woo results, but nothing you do in the receiving school will feel like woo. In fact, you'll even go like, will this really matter? Does this really matter? Does it really matter if I clean out my underwear drawer? Yes, that's another exercise. It does.
I know. As soon as women start talking about panties, I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So, but I did clean out my underwear drawer, and I was pretty proud of myself. Went to Walmart, got me some new undies. Yeah. Yeah. So again, Patty, I love you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that you're doing this receiving school again. It's exactly what the world needs right now, and especially for the next 3 weeks, God willing, 2 weeks. So yeah. This is going to be the funnest receiving school ever, because we've got all the election stuff, and the veil is the thinnest it will ever be in our lifetime next Saturday on Halloween. Yes. Join us, and thank you, Patty. And I'll put the replay on here, and we'll see you there. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thanks, Patty. Thank you. That was awesome. Thanks, Lou. All right, I'll show you how I blast it out and do all that fun stuff. So thanks. Yes, awesome. I love it. Talk to you later. Okay, bye.